Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got Council Future Conflict episode 471. I'm Scott. That's Joe. Watchers on the bottom. We're going to be talking cute winter boots, the new fashion accessory everybody's looking for, and global flashpoints. And somehow those are connected, actually. But we'll get into that. Welcome, everybody. Joe, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. It's been a cold spell, but it's warming up for the next couple of days before another cold spell. But it's been pretty good. A lot going on, a lot of partnerships and networking being done for events later in the summer, and gonna be cool stuff. We got a lot of good stuff coming. It's just not here yet. So
I know you guys just announced the date, so it's probably a little early to ask this question, but I'll ask it anyway. What's any idea on what's on tap for the field days this summer?
Well, I'm trying to line up some music for the evenings, but we're looking to multiply attendance by 5, go from 200 people to about 1,000, and we're trying to pack in a lot more activities, a lot more kid-friendly activities, and more food trucks and all day kind of things. There was some discussion of an axe throwing contest, and then the lawyers had a stroke. So we'll figure it out. I'm definitely going to run a kids archery contest, and we're just going to have some fun with fun stuff.
That's
and
awesome.
The one thing Brandon said was absolutely no cornhole tournaments. So
there we go. Cornhole became a thing like in the early 2000s, right? And I was overseas when it was all happening. So I like come back to America and this cornhole shit is going on. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I'd never seen it before in my life.
It until me and Mark Sibley played against Braxton McCoy, and now I hate it. And Braxton McCoy is not allowed anywhere that there is a cornhole board.
What did he have a cowboy hat on when he was throwing?
I did say Braxton McCoy, so
just making
yes.
sure. I mean, I think that's the key. If you wear a cowboy hat, you automatically get better. It's just part of the deal.
And it's the boots; they help you aim.
Right, the shit kickers helps. All right, Watcher, how you doing, brother?
Pretty damn good, and partially because of something that I just posted in the private chat. But yeah, things are escalating, but weirdly they keep going in a good direction as well.
Speak of the devil, huh?
Right.
We were just talking about that guy.
We were just talking about that piece of shit. But yeah, got the chicks ordered. So I know I have a few local fans that watch the show. Yeah, expect eggs around, I guess, to August if everything goes correctly. I'm a little bit worried about winter shipping of tiny creatures, but we'll see.
Very good. Yeah. The chickens are coming. It's a thing, right? As my daughter would say, it's a thing, Dad. Did you guys notice that X changed their layout again a little bit?
Yes.
It was a subtle change.
Every time you open it, it's different. Yeah.
Well, for me, like, you know how it was like icons down the side, and then and the kind of words next to it, and then over the weekend it was like no words; it was just icons, and I was like, all right, I know what they mean, but it was nice having the words next to it. And then now the words are back. I'm just like, I don't know. God love X, but sometimes it's bizarre. All right. I'm sorry. I just saw a tweet that says the HTS militants are going to target Notre Dame again.
That's fine, because I actually have a bit of breaking. I have a short video I got to display. Latest Trump executive order just dropped.
And lastly, sir, we have an executive order demanding that grown men stop wearing skinny jeans.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years.
Yeah.
For decades.
So my favorite is that exact same clip, but it's him talking about the executive order that they will release GTA 6 this year.
That's right. Yeah.
My daughter actually brought that to me. She's like, "Dad, check out the new executive order."
But the one that is real is when he banned pineapple on pizza. So
Well, I mean, but Joe, he wasn't banning pineapple on pizza. He was reasserting the previously ban on. So this is just like something that we all knew. That he's just reminding people.
Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza. Good night. What is the world coming to, Joe? I swear to God.
Matt Grizzly, you're on your way of getting banned from the YouTube chat. I'm just saying, man. Ban spam. Come on, bro.
Okay. All right. Odds and ends, gents. Let's jump into it. So this first one is a kind of a head scratch, right? Because it makes sense on the surface, but when you dig into it, Joe, you were bringing up some good points, and it's just one of those kind of things that, I don't know if it's smart for Bukele, and I don't know if it's smart for us, but I love the sound of it. Like on the surface, it sounds like a great idea. But when you dig into it, there are definitely some questions.
Well, I think the best part of it is that if they takes them in, it doesn't impact us. So
yeah. So the headline is Trump eyes asylum agreement with El Salvador to deport migrants there. And so, basically everybody is aware that Bukele and El Salvador came up with the kind of the solution to their gang problem. They had two of the most violent gangs in the world, actually. Well, theoretically, they came from Los Angeles and then migrated back to. They were El Salvadoran immigrants, went to Los Angeles, became gangsters.
Hold up.
MS-13 and M-18. And then through deporting of these gang members back to El Salvador, they basically brought very kind of high-end underworld techniques to a very underdeveloped country. Hunter for $10 says, pineapple pizza likings means a person has commie sympathies. It's science. You can't argue. I mean, Hunch makes a very strong point there, and hey, who am I to argue with science? Anyway, back to essentially, El Salvador had a really tough nut to crack. They were the murder capital of the world for a little while there, and then Bukele comes in and basically uses the strong man, right? He basically makes. Joe, RICO means that you can't be part of any organization that's deemed to be a criminal organization, right? That's how that works. So, like, if you're a member of the mafia, that's literally you can get put in jail for being a member of the mafia. Well, they basically took that to the extreme and said, "Oh, you have an MS-13 tattoo on your body? You're going to prison because you're a member of MS-13." And so most of those people are criminals, in fact, but they're not using what you would call, the rule of law the way we kind of envision it in the Western world. But
which is actually a joke because we put people in jail for buying black tactical masks and black tactical backpacks. So
it's like signature crimes, right? Like, these types of things. And it goes back to, New York City. They used to do stop and frisk for people who matched the signature of some sort of a suspicious character or whatever, so there is something to that. But that being said, is it justice? I don't know. But it sure makes me sleep at night knowing that MS-13 is getting rounded up in El Salvador. But the idea is like Tren de Aragua, for instance, can't be deported back to Venezuela because Venezuela won't accept them. And so who else would accept these dirtbags, So I guess the idea would be, we would pay El Salvador some amount of money, and
So
they would
El
take.
Salvador's not doing this for the good of the world.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
dollar bills attached. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and so they will take they would, if the deal were to go through, they would take our criminal illegal immigrants from places like Venezuela, especially the gang related ones, and they would house them in their gang supermax, while and they just gives us a place to send it back to. Thoughts on this, guys? I mean, Joe, I know you had some kind of concerns about it. You wanna bring those to light?
well, he just cleaned up his streets and cleaned up his cities. Now he's going to be inviting that back in. I get it. He's probably going to lock them all up, or as I said, march them into the sea. But it's not necessarily something we should be cheering on, because if he takes them all in and then just kills them all, are we culpable in that? I'm not saying that gang membership should lead to your death, but maybe at some point it will anyway. But I don't know. I just think that it's risky on his part. He just stabilized his country by importing a large number of gang members from a gang that's much closer to him than it is to us. I think he risks destabilizing El Salvador again.
Yeah, if he thinks the risk is worth it, if he keeps and he actually houses them and doesn't murder them, I can see how it would be a good deal for us. I don't know how it'll be a good deal for him. I mean, we were talking before the show that there is some evidence that they are looking at some sort of a rehabilitation program for their gang members, the El Salvadoran gang members. And so I don't know how you rehabilitate gang members from other countries. Okay, yeah, they speak Spanish, they're Latinos too, or whatever, but there's a very big difference between somebody from El Salvador and somebody from Venezuela. Yeah. Watcher, what's your kind of take on this?
I don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
I guess there's that. The wisdom of our ancestors, huh? Well, I just thought this was interesting. It's kind of like the solution to the problem we talked about the other day. So I'll be interested to see where this ends up going. All right, let's move on to our next story here. White House clarifies drone gate. New Jersey's UAP authorized by the FAA. So this is interesting. I don't know how much.
So they weren't UAPs.
Yeah,
well,
the FAA authorized them. They were absolutely
right. The reports were UAPs, but they knew what was up. So ultimately, they were not unidentified.
And what happened? What's funny about this is when this came out, is everyone pretended like, oh, well, they did an investigation and this is what they found. No, quite literally, the Trump administration came in, opened a file folder, and said, "Oh, they knew this all along."
All along,
and allowed everyone to panic and freak out about it on purpose. That's the bigger learning from this, right?
Right. And so
just going to yawn and stretch and take a little victory lap.
Then I think there's two pieces of this. First, what the hell was going on, and that's it, of interest in of itself. But then also the leadership and culpability for just lying to the American people. Let me kind of get a little into this story here. White House press secretary provided much needed transparency regarding the DroneGate incident that sparked nationwide concerns over potential threats from China and Russia. In a press conference on Tuesday afternoon, Leavitt said the drone spotted over New Jersey and New York in December had been authorized by the Federal Aviation Administration for research purposes. An update on the New Jersey drone: after research and study, the drones flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones are hobbyist and recreational drones that enjoy flying flying drones. This was not the enemy. She concluded. So the irony here is, you got all these senators and congressmen getting these top secret briefings on this. So clearly they knew what was going on. And then once they had these briefings, you basically had people shutting up and not talking anymore about it. So it's interesting, these drones of ours that were being tested are interesting, but ultimately it's just such a lack of leadership that somebody just didn't come out and say, yeah, these are just drones that we're testing, period, and stop. I mean, they clearly weren't stealthy because you could see them. Go ahead, Joe.
If they were truly interested in the public interest, they would have just told you the truth.
Right.
But the phenomenon and the ability to then pass more restrictions on drone operations was just too tempting for them, right?
Yeah. So the big question is, why did the Biden administration lie? Because that's exactly what they did. They lied. Do you remember the New Jersey congressman who said, "Oh, these are drones from Iran," and Iran has stationed a mothership off the East Coast and was launching drones into New Jersey? So clearly that wasn't the case. If he had a government source that was whispering that into his ear, then ultimately he needs to kind of vet his sources again. But ultimately,
that could also have been the test, right? Can we make people believe something is going on that isn't?
Well, and he may have been in on it.
Carry that all the way through. If they decide to smash one into a power plant, could they plausibly blame it on the Chinese?
Or a local conservative militia,
yeah.
There's that, or honestly, I don't think it has to go any further than, hey, civilians with drones keep exposing us by using aerial photography that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Let's stop that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the timing was interesting. It was almost at the it was almost at the end of the administration. I mean, it's not like I guess maybe there was some thought that she could win and we might have a chance at actually. But if I remember correctly, most of that was happening after the election. No.
No.
Oh yeah, no.
Both sides. It was around it, before and after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So even after he won, there was no chance that any kind of comprehensive drone ban or whatever within the U.S. would ever have happened.
But it literally happened right as the legislation was resubmitted. Like that, somebody was trying to pass a law to make it illegal for civilians to own drones.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is a weird type of thing. It would make me. Yeah, so this explanation actually starts to make more sense to me. The fact that it's part of the Pentagon program called Replicator, where they're testing commercially made inexpensive drones and counter drone stuff. So that kind of stuff makes a lot more sense now. I wonder if they come out with a little more detail on what kind of drones they were, what the program was, maybe just like a sanitized, declassified version where you can at least be, truthful, because this is just saying it was ours. It's not giving any details whatsoever. So
you have way more faith in the government than the rest of us, Scott, because the government likes not just the ability to tell you what to do, it likes the ability to tell you what you're allowed to know and not. And they classify things for no reason, like the congressional lunch menu. Who cares? But it's classified. Just because they like to control what you can see, they like to feel special because they have a knowledge that you don't.
Yeah, I got that part. I'm just, what I'm pointing out is that this is kind of being said that this is transparency, but real transparency would be them saying, like I said, saying that sanitized version of what happened, not just saying. I mean, this is a good start. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth once again, using the same phrase again. But at the same time, I think real transparency is something that is lacking, and so we'll see if it's still a little early to go to the mattresses over lack of transparency, but I'm willing to give the Trump administration a grace period, but this kind of stuff should just not happen. All right. Rumble for $5, Pinochet helicopter tours. Imagine the bioweapons and chemicals that can be delivered by drone at night. Imagine the cattle and livestock and crops that could be destroyed by spraying simple weapons delivered to control people. Yep. It's awful nice when you have something that doesn't even have a person involved to do all your dirty work for you. And then you can just
let's be honest. Saying, well, we know who it was and it was the government doesn't make it any better than it having potentially been China or Russia. The U.S. government at this point could very well be your enemy.
All right. Anything else on this, gents? Moving on. So this next one, Joe, I don't know how much you paid in attention to this. I mean, I thought this was like, I won't say holy shit kind of news, but this was definitely the topic of the day for me I guess it was yesterday. I woke up and I was looking at this. Chaos on the border, Mexican cartels fire at U.S. border agents. And so I did hear some quotes from Tom Homan on this, and I think our brand new Homeland Security secretary also commented on this. But for me, I think this is I hate to say it, Joe, but this is well, I don't know if I hate to say it, but this is like the early days of what will end up being some sort of a border war between the U.S. Right? If the balloon goes up on the border, it'll be because some dumbass cartel guy decided to shoot up some Marines or shoot up some Army guys or shoot up some Border Patrol, and we will be prepared at that point, and we will literally go in to wipe them out, at least in that area.
Yeah, I read a book that posited a border war between Mexico and the U.S., and it all began with the Mexican military chasing some drug dealers into
the
Texas
US.
and getting into shootouts. So, and then them trying to fight their way back, and it spiraled out of control. It is entirely possible, but the Mexican army movements that we've seen since this are not counter United States; they are counter cartel. So when everyone goes, "Oh, Mexico's moving tanks and moving armored vehicles," all that's an attempt to push the cartel back.
Yeah,
and
because
it's been ongoing for a little bit. That's why the cartel has IEDs on the roads in that area. Everyone says, "Oh, that's to blow up migrants coming north." That makes no sense. It's to keep the Mexican army out of cartel territory. So there is going to be a border war. It just doesn't necessarily have to involve us. We can let the Mexican army and the cartels fight it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only problem that I see, it's not the Mexican government does not want to fight the U.S. They absolutely don't. They know that's a losing proposition every time. What they do want to do is they want to continue to maintain positive control of the current border and the current territory that they have, and that's why it's in their interest to clear out these cartel members that are, in and along the border. So it'll be interesting to see what happens within Mexico.
But the fact that the cartel did open fire on the Border Patrol is an escalation, and it needs to be understood as such. This is why my 20-mile buffer zone is a great idea.
Yeah. Let me jump into this story here. Mexican cartels fire at U.S. border agents. Chaos erupted along the U.S.-Mexican border on Monday when cartel members opened fire on U.S. Border Patrol agents. This incident came just 1 week after President Trump ramped up border security efforts. deployed the military and formally designated cartels as foreign terrorists organizations. Late Monday night, Texas Department of Public Safety wrote on X. Earlier, we responded to assist U.S. Border Patrol agents after receiving gunfire from cartel members in Mexico while patrolling Fronton in Saar County. DPS drone operators captured the gunman fleeing Mexico due to military presence and seeking refuge on an island between the U.S. and Mexico. The state of Texas will continue to monitor the area closely and use every resource available to prevent transnational threats to our law enforcement partners and the homeland. If you want, Watcher, you want to go, open that post right there and let's watch these videos here. Joe, I was thinking after I saw this stuff, and I heard some of the talk from the new SecDef. I could absolutely see a series of almost fob-like bases along the border, specifically in more unoccupied areas like New Mexico, Arizona, some parts of Texas, and where the military basically just operates out of those areas, conducting border patrols to beef up, the CPP and the BP. I could see that becoming like just a rotational type of thing that, military police and engineers and possibly even infantry units take up as just, that's just one of the things that the U.S. military just does all the time.
Man, the traitor in me twitches at these videos, but that would be a much better use of our military than putting them, I don't know, next to oil fields in Syria.
In Syria, exactly right.
And I remember, this was probably 14, 15 years ago, working on a project with a major American oil company to help them build and secure a fob, essentially, south of San Antonio in the desert, because that's the only way they could operate is if they ran their oil camp as a fob, security patrols, watchtowers, all that kind of stuff, because there's signs up all over that area that say this area is not in control of the United States government. It's time to reassert that control.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimately, the way you cleared those areas inside the, 100 miles inland is to make sure that you've got control of the border. Once you have control of the border.
I've got to say something about this video. One, there are two reasons why your backpack has two straps. And one, learn what a sling is, and don't set your gun down in the muddy water like that. And then the other guy who has a sling on his rifle, learn what it's for. Okay, I had to say it. I feel better now.
Yeah. It's one thing when you're just kind of hanging around and carrying some stuff that's not that important, but yeah, if you're in for military purposes and you're going more than about 10 feet, you put both on there. Let's see, which video is this? This is the second video, right? Yeah, I think it's the third one where they start shooting at the drone. Yeah, this guy is looking at the drone. He's like, I wonder if I can shoot that. He asks his buddy, hey, Miguel, what do you give me if I can shoot this drone down? And Miguel's like, I ain't got shit to give you, brother. You're on your own. They'll probably call artillery in on us if you try to shoot at it. Joe, for me, I think that you could definitely, the way the Mexican border is, I think you could definitely have some impact areas and things like that. Like if a bad guy is in these areas, then you could use artillery. Now that may be controversial, I know, but like those guys that we just saw in that last video, artillery would have been an excellent.
Using artillery in a law enforcement option or in a law enforcement operation is not unprecedented in the United States. I can think of a famous case in Philadelphia where they did aerial bombardment against a terror group operating out of a house in Philadelphia.
Well, and nowadays with like things like small diameter bombs, Hellfires, PGK, things like that. I think that you could actually, use single shots. Hellfire at that group of guys would have definitely, said adios to their whatever mission they were doing. These guys are definitely shooting at something there. That's just a picture, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So expect to see more of this. And Joe, maybe the answer is get the Mexican government on board with with working with us to get these guys out of here. Look at that. That's I wonder if any of these guys that get deployed to the border will get any kind of hazardous duty pay or anything like that. Yeah, this is pretty much a carbon copy of the previous border mission, Southwest border mission from 2018, 2019, where the U.S. military was not in any kind of, pointing guns across the border kind of situation.
Oh,
they were.
I've heard that we are. In fact, I've heard that unlike last time, this time they've deployed with arms and with live ammo.
Yeah, we need to return to 1998 when the Marine Observation Post smoked some armed Mexicans on our side of the border.
Yeah, they had weapons and ammo at that point too, but they had really, that just wasn't their mission. They were there to put up wire and and to do engineering tasks for the most part.
Yeah, the Marines that have been deployed are all engineers. They're all combat engineers. So.
Yeah, and the Army are mostly military police and engineers as well. So I think you'll see that become the kind of the norm for the military portion of it. Whereas, and that makes sense because unless you suspend, what is it, or you have to have a posse comitatus finding in order to have U.S. military do law enforcement within the federal Title 10 military doing that. Now, National Guard military can do it within the state, but that has to be Title 32 usage, not a Title 10.
What is hilarious about that whole clip of video is we have this was a staged photo op, right? Girl boss out here directing the landing, but did you notice she almost panicked and ran because of the rotor wash from that thing?
Yeah, the rotor wash from the Ospreys is legendary for being pretty vicious.
Yeah. What's funny is they make it look like she's directing the Marines. The Marines will get out and probably are more likely to flip her the bird and keep doing whatever they were told to do than listen to her.
Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah. And I like here, this one is great because if you notice, there's an Army soldier and a Marine. They bought an interpreter because the Border Patrol does not speak Marine.
All right. Anyway, so I have the feeling that this is going to get worse for the cartel before it gets better, and unfortunately, that also means that there will be some probably casualties on the U.S. side as well. So,
well, it's good to see though that this time they are deploying them in body armor with full gear. I didn't see any mag pouches on anyone there, but they did at least have body armor on. So
yeah. Well, Joe, the one of the old tricks is having the weapons with magazines but no ammo in them. So it'll be interesting to see what the ROEs are, and we'll get that'll be a question that the media will ask, and we'll get all that information out. So it's pretty interesting. All right, that's all I got on odds and ends. Anything else, guys, that you think we should cover before diving deeper into some other stuff?
Well, we could talk about this Rwanda thing that's been going on in the chat. M23 has been on a tear. Yeah. Yesterday, several South African National Defense Force units surrendered as they ran out of ammo, and South Africa didn't have the means to resupply them in the field. They're there as part of the South African Economic Development Community's deployment. And there's some talk, I guess the Arctic Boy sent me a video of some Romanian mercenaries surrendering to the Rwandan rebel forces too. So it is really escalating, just a further creep of rebels throughout Africa. The important thing about the DRC is that throughout its history, we've had wars there because what does it have a lot of? Resources that everyone else wants. And instability favors the Russians and the Chinese more than it does us because we're probably far more reluctant to get involved on either side in Africa at this point because we haven't had a lot of good experiences there.
Well, that and we tend to follow our own rules, and that can be a handicap, if you will, in this kind of a conflict.
Well, and there are belts of influence, right, throughout Africa. Like traditionally, North and Central Africa have been, North Africa has been influenced by the French, and they've had deployments throughout there. Central Africa, where the DRC and Rwanda have been traditionally French and Belgian interventions, and then farther south than that, it's been British or Portuguese. So this falls right into the Belgian and French area. So we shall see what happens.
Yeah, that's actually one of our stories in our second segment today. So we'll talk more in depth about Congo and what's going on there. You're just talking about specifically the SANDF troops, and we've got that video as well in the notes. So we'll talk more about that in the Global Flashpoints segment of the show today. Yeah, some really interesting stuff there, Joe. So I want to dig into that, and I know you probably have some insight as well. Mm-hmm. And we got some information. We talked to K9 Reaper pretty recently, and also Gideon. So
Gideon put out a great video about the ridiculousness of gun laws in South Africa.
Right, the barrel.
It was a fantastic video. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right. So before we go on to segment one, Joe, you want to talk a little bit about tactical-wisdom.com?
Yeah, I'm going to be writing an article here today or tomorrow on having an active response kit in your car, and that's directly in relation to the increase in active shooters and acts of terrorism that are going on and likely to continue and escalate during the Trump presidency because, as we're about to talk about in segment one, those people are crazy. And so I'm going to talk about some extra gear, not your traditional vehicle kit or first aid kit to have, but how to actually set up your car to be able to counter an irregular threat on your own, because you might have to. Or like here in Montana, the men of a community would take it upon themselves to hold down the situation until law enforcement can get there. And here, that can be upwards of 2 hours. The counties here are massive. And, you might have to hold the fort down for a while. So we're going to talk about how to set up your vehicle to do that.
All right, that's good info.
By the way, let me finish with this. Sorry, I had a cough that came in the middle there.
No, it's all right.
A few seats left in the Fieldcraft class down at NC Scouts Place. So head over, get registered, come hang out with me and Matt and I think Be Prepared from the chat will be there, and our first responder, I guess, from the chat, and I don't know who else, but a bunch of us will be there. Laura Cox will probably make an appearance at some point. Come and hang out with us and learn some stuff.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I wish I was able to make it, but
And at
unfortunately,
your
I
Arctic
will
boy,
not.
that's not historically accurate. The French fought on the side of the Congolese during the Katanga crisis, and they are what led to the death of the UN Secretary General. So some of the Congolese wanted them gone, but some of them did not. And
Yeah, invariably, there's always two sides in Africa, and every side has its own African. So,
oh wait, I forgot. We're supposed to still pretend that Dag Hammarskjöld's plane crashed and wasn't shot down by the Congolese military with French support. My bad.
nah, I think everybody knows that already at this point.
Right?
Talk about like worst kept secret ever.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump in. So the first segment is called Cute Winter Boots, which, I mean, that's a thing, right? It's, but I guess, cute winter boots or what you would wear, in the winter when, I guess if you're a girl or whatever. Hey, Watcher, let's pull up the last link in this segment first, because that goes to uh the actual thing we're talking about here.
Hey,
And then we're going to
watch that the other day just because of the Rwandan situation. This is Africa.
TIA, right? All right. Cute winter boots. Deranged leftists use cute winter boots code to bypass TikTok algorithm in organizing Project Mayhem. Now, if you are a fan of Fight Club, you'll recognize Project Mayhem as the kind of the thematic second half of the story. And that's essentially what they're trying to do in the neo-Marxist, the violent neo-Marxist leftist terror kind of cells in America. Reports are circulating on social media suggesting that the phrase "cute winter boots," used by some radical leftists on Chinese-owned platform TikTok, is code for advocating violence against cis people and supporters of Donald Trump. Now, they mentioned cis people here, and this is kind of we're gonna dig deeper into this whole Ziz group and the trans cult / terror terrorists who killed that border patrolman earlier, was last week, and the more we look, the more comes out about this, and I think that this cute winter boots thing, as widespread as it is, shows you that these unique trans and other kind of identifying terror cells are out there. And if they're not out there in numbers, they're forming, because all the loonies have got to find each other, and this is the way they find each other. Let's see. Okay, so this is a tweet from Ashley St. Clair. This was the first tweet actually that I saw about this. So if you just go down, yeah, that's it. Let's watch these two videos.
Ugh.
No sound.
Yeah, no sound on purpose. You don't.
Okay.
Yeah. What was the sound?
It's
Oh yeah.
It's cranberries.
Yeah, cranberries. All right, nothing wrong with the cranberries, but not what I would want to.
No, but I hate that it's now associated with this.
Yeah, I know, right? So kill the system, CISTM, so this is definitely that trans activation.
This isn't a word. We should refuse to allow them to use it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
7,
All right.
6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles a day, 4, 11, 17.
I refuse to allow them to steal this wonderful play from us. Poem.
Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boo, boo,
How to wrap a t-shirt around your head.
boo, boo, moving up and down again.
Deny, defend, depose.
Huh? Where have we heard that before?
Watching him. There's no
Yep.
Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to find out if he actually was, directly connected to any of these, kind of Ziz group.
I think that's why the investigation stopped being released, because he was.
Yeah. So if you search Project Mayhem 2025, this is the kind of stuff you'll get. Draw ICP makeup. People aren't able to recognize you with it. And face registration systems also don't see you. References for the algorithm: Bridgerton, Taylor Swift, Wicked, Uggs, Stanley's, Christmas, Ariana Grande, Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, K-pop, Burbasket, Coquette, Lana Del Rey. So these are things that they're using that are just benign pop culture kind of references that they're appropriating in order to kind of do far recognition with each other, right? And then they probably attempt to make broader contact or deeper contact in places like Signal or Joe. I don't know if you heard, but Facebook Messenger they're saying is going to become end-to-end. It's end-to-end encryption now. So even Facebook Messenger is purporting to be more secure than it is.
As I said the other day, end-to-end encryption is no longer your key term. Quantum resistant end-to-end encryption.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because if you don't realize that the first people who are going to have a regular up and running quantum computer will be the NSA, whether they tell you about it or not, you're crazy. All right. So moving along, deranged leftist posters. So this is another one of those. So this just kind of shows you when you start seeing videos that look a lot like each other. These are those kind of far recognition signals, right? It's like, I'm going to make a video that is copying this other style of video, and then people will know I'm in on it.
They use the same poem.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're using that poem as what's I can't remember. What's that poem from again? I recognize it, but I can't remember the order.
Rudyard Kipling.
Boots.
Kipling, that's right. I knew it was.
I'll be honest, if you come to the Scout and Recce course, you're still going to hear it endlessly in the middle of the night. So I'm just saying.
Well, just because they use something doesn't mean they own something.
Correct. It's not from the Jungle Book. It's from Afghanistan and other stories. But yes, the Jungle Book was about India. Boots is about South Africa.
All right. So these are the videos where they're amazingly, showing, the consistency in messaging.
Let's talk about some cute winter boots. Let's talk about some cute winter boots. Okay, if you're gonna get the boots that have a barrel and a hammer, then a few things to keep in mind. Okay, the bigger the heel, the bigger the kick. And the bigger the heel and the smaller the frame, the bigger the kick. So protect those wrists when you're putting them on, okay? The next thing we're gonna talk about is make sure you keep them clean, okay? My boots are filthy. Keep your boots clean. And if you don't know how to clean them, ask your veteran friends. They know how. And just a little tip in case you're in a pinch, just take a t-shirt and rip it and use that cloth and slide it through that barrel. You'll be good. Q-tips work great, okay? You'll figure it out. YouTube has lots of tutorials. The next thing we're going to talk about is the fact that the enemy of your enemy is a friend of yours. You have to stop looking at the colors ahead of you. No, the color of your boots don't matter. Red boots, blue boots, green boots, doesn't matter, okay? We all need to work together. And lastly, this is not the time to take your old, broken, worn-in boots and go up to the people with the brand new shiny boots and go, ha, I told you so. I told you so. No, this is the time to say, hey, here's what you do to keep your boots in good shape. Here's how we work together to take care of our boots. Okay?
She looks like a prize fighting bull with that ring in her nose.
Well, that is another one of those far recognition signals, the septum piercings.
Are very interested in cute winter boots.
The only thing that dude's resisting is combing his hair.
I was gonna play it, but it's got copyrighted music.
I don't care. Watch, you can play it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
All they'll do is they'll
Also,
make
the
us
thing is
demonetized.
that winter boots aren't really the most practical foot gear. But there is something that you can do if you are not able to wear cute winter boots. You can help other people find those cute winter boots. You can also make sure that you comment and share posts of people who are excitedly purchasing, sharing, and wearing new cute winter boots. And most importantly, there are friends that you have who are in desperate need of cute winter boots or are ready to purchase their own. And you're going to know exactly what kind of boots they want. So share that. It helps.
I just think it's amazing that the left is now embracing the Second Amendment. I think this is fantastic.
It's shocking, Joe. I know it's authoritarians have always used force and violence to lord over the people that don't want them.
But do we have any of the videos that talk specifically about Heart Drop, which is a code for Operation Mayhem?
Let's see.
Because that specifically mentions a date, and that date is today.
Yes, today. Yeah. So this is
I was happy to hear them talking about cleaning their guns. My God, I've been trying to get people to do that for decades, and they come out with some silly video and they start cleaning guns all of a sudden. Wow.
I got a heart drop video here in the private chat.
Funnily enough, they sounded exactly as gay as the armory techs telling people to clean their guns. It was very strange. That was chuckle.
Everyone over
Come on,
laughing and joking about the training level of the left. Listen, if they kill you, St. Peter doesn't go, "Oh, but an untrained person kills you, you get to go back."
Yeah.
Take them seriously. They're willing to kill people. I can't believe that our side just wants to laugh at them and disregard them completely. They'll still kill you, whether you give them respect or not. I'm not saying you have to think they're fellow warriors, but you need to understand the risk and stop disregarding it.
Yeah. So here's another. It's talking about the what is it? The heart drop. Encouraging others to heart drop them on January 29th, which is today.
Woman, please keep scrolling. Girls, let me be your big sister for a second, or a mom. Go to the nearest store and buy as many as you can, as many of them, for cash. If they do decide to have them banned, they're going to be gone overnight. I don't have anything else. No more wisdom, just that. Please go and please buy them. Okay, love you. Bye.
Yeah, that's the actual TikTok screen grab. So there's another one right below it.
We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup. And I said, it's too bad. One was in 2026, and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president for the Olympics.
So what's funny is that's a clip taken out of context, right?
Yeah.
They're claiming he's saying they rigged the election so he would win this time. He's saying because they rigged the election in 2020, he ends up being president again now. So
Right.
they're just trying to take that out of context to make it sound like the election was stolen. He was referring to the 2020 election in that full clip.
Yeah. Your Arctic Boy for $10 Canadian. The main strength of groups like this has always been their deep logistic structure behind them. Weather Underground had no shortage of false documents, safe houses, and supply from people like this. Yeah, a lot of, for every shooter, you've got 10 people that are basically willing to do some sort of, and this has always been the same. Almost every successful terrorist or insurgency is the deep support zone that they have to help hide them, transport them. Lance Corporal Veteran for $10 says, "Reminder: leftist revolutionaries were the original modern era gun toters before they went softy psychotic." Yeah. Well, I mean, back in the '60s and the '70s, they were tooling up pretty heavily, and that's one of the places where some of the '60s and '70s era gun control that the Republicans were heavily in favor of in those times, where that came from, because of all these. Well, we can't have all these crazy leftists running around with guns. We got to restrict our gun purchases. Let's see.
What's funny is two things that are related to this that's important. One is, Forward Observer used to report every day on leftist firearms and first aid training events that were going on, and they were every weekend, and they were all over the country. He's gotten away from that and only gone to protest activity, but it would be eye-opening if he continued to put that out. So maybe I'll text him later. But they were really onto that. The second thing is that for the leftists to buy a gun, they technically have to lie on the Form 4473 because it asks a question about, have you ever been a member of a group that advocates the overthrow of the United States government? And they all are.
I want to show one. This is probably the most, on the nose of all these videos. If you could go back to the heart drop link that I sent you, and the video underneath with the chick with the red hair, and just listen to. So, Joe, here's the thing. All it takes is something to go down. Like, one idiot has to show up with a gun and start shooting at this thing today, right? And I don't know where it is specifically, but
it's all over the country.
Aurora, Colorado, Oklahoma on the list. And as soon as that happens, every one of these people is basically signed up for a conspiracy charge. No? I mean, not
correct.
Not
if anyone shows up in response to this video, that's evidence right there of conspiracy. And they keep saying, watch out for ICE with your cute winter boots, and that means they're going to be protesting at ICE centers. So,
not that one. It's the one like right above that one.
Oh, the 4-minute long one.
Don't play the whole thing. Just play like the first minute or so. But these people look shockingly normal too. They aren't just freaks with piercings all over their face.
Curiosities. So I just had a revelation, right, about the release date of my new song "Heart Drop" that's coming out on
push
January
pause real quick.
29th.
What's the over and under that she's a kindergarten teacher?
Yeah, right. 100%.
Go ahead, push play.
Okay. So the date, January 29th, is when my new song Heart Drop's coming out, and I just decided how I'm going to celebrate. So I think I'm going to get myself a pair of cute winter boots to celebrate Heart Drop on January 29th. Okay. And the fun thing about cute winter boots is it's a good way to stay warm, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's getting really cold in America. And like, I'm from the Midwest, and so I'm not even used to this level of cold, but it is getting really cold. And I imagine it's just going to get colder. I mean, there is ice everywhere right now in America. For those of you who are outside in the United States, you might not necessarily know what I'm talking about, but those of you inside, hopefully you know what I mean when I say that I am totally excited to get myself a pair of cute winter boots.
What's hilarious to me is the why hide what you're even talking about? Y'all are talking about doing something that's perfectly legal, right? Like, you live in America, you're allowed to own guns. If you're not allowed to own guns, that's a different thing. In which case, you're stupid for participating in this publicly, because they will find you. But why? Like, we all know you're going to act this way. You guys have made it obvious for a long time you're going to do this. You said publicly you're going to do shit like this. So why do all this code name bullshit? Like, I don't even. It feels very performative, very LARPish to me. Am I the only one?
No. Here's the thing, Joe. I mean, Watcher. Everybody we've seen here, none of these people are ever going to get a gun and shoot anybody. I mean, these people are not the types that do that. They may buy one and give it to their boyfriend or something like that, or they may give him some money, or you know what I mean. But these are not. These are the people who egg on the guys in their lives to be more, are you just going to let stand there? It's the girlfriend who like talks her boyfriend into a fight. That's what these all are. And Joe, this is why I think it's important that, if something goes down, every person who made one of these videos needs to catch a charge. I mean,
Absolutely. And I'm going to be honest, it's not these people who are the threat. It's the people who watch these videos. The person who sits at
right.
home, he's been involved in leftist causes forever. He sees his moment. He sees right now is that opportunity. That's the guy who's more likely to get out here and actually shoot someone, because these people were all pretend being revolutionaries on TikTok. Is going to get out there. It's also not a coincidence that they're using TikTok to spread this, which is a Chinese disinformation app intentionally meant to spread and foment disorder in the U.S. Here they are doing it. So it's just like the risk on the right of some crazy far right dude doing something silly. All of these people have been, ever since the Luigi Mangione incident, been sitting in their basements dreaming of their moment. Then when Donald Trump was elected, it made it real for them. So there are an element of absolutely insane people who may very well snap and do something silly. And they kill you just as dead as a trained communist revolutionary. So,
yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Real quick, Pinochet's helicopter tours for $2 over, and Rumble says that Ace of Spades card in Dag Hammarskjöld's collar when his body was found was a bit suspicious. I've never heard that one. And another one, Pinochet's helicopter tours for $2, saying LOL, playing Bittersweet Symphony in the background from the movie Cruel Intentions. It's so tacky in the year 2000. Cruel Intentions. That's a movie I
what movie? I'm sorry,
of.
I was typing.
I haven't thought of that movie in like 24 years. It came out 24 years ago. Cruel Intentions.
Oh yeah.
Before we move on, Andy did have a
I want to get
video.
this one right.
I'm in shock. I think we are learning details about.
He's wearing a Proud Boys shirt.
RSL in the United States that has claimed a fourth victim. So the deadly shooting of the U.S. Border Patrol agent on Inauguration Day in Vermont near the Canadian border is not just a story about a homicide. According to court filings and my own reporting and interviews with somebody who knew the deceased drummer national, these are two people who are linked or members of a trans terror cell that was based in California, who was involved in 3 prior murders. I'm quite in shock. The murders happened in late 2022. There was one earlier this month, and then now in Vermont, that would bring the body count to 4 murdered people across the United States. Read my report, and I'm going to keep digging on this. There's a lot more to find out. subscribe to me on X, follow my work, and let me know your reactions. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're gonna open this. So the next one here is a story by Andy No from Post Millennial. Andy No reports trans terror. Trans duo revealed as suspects in killing of a Vermont. So we kind of talked about this the other day. But the interesting thing is, yeah, kind of once you get into it here a little more. While receiving, let's see, let me kind of. So we already talked about the fact that they killed the Border Patrol agent, right? But it's like once you that's kind of like just the thing that let us know who these people were. Once you dig deeper in, it's kind of bizarre. When law enforcement contacted him, they claimed to be looking to purchase property in the area. Promptly checked out the motel afterwards on January 14th. Buchholz was a biological male who identified as trans and used feminine pronouns. He was an award-winning youth math genius who later graduated from University of Waterloo in Canada. Around 2021, he was hired as a quantitative trader. Okay, so I don't care about his background. And he's an overstay on an H-1B visa. Youngblood, who was accused of firing the suspects, the surprise shot that killed border agent Malin, was injured by returning fire. She was a biological female who identifies as trans. Her family had reported her missing to the Seattle police in May of 2024. Her family said that she was in a controlling relationship and cut off contact, according to police report. Youngblood filed a marriage application with a man named Maximilian Snyder on November 24th, though it doesn't appear that they actually followed through, according to public records. Court filings by prosecutors show that Youngblood was estranged from her family, traveled internationally in 22, 23, and 24. Her social media accounts on Blue Sky show she followed Antifa and far-left accounts. While receiving inpatient care at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center in New Hampshire, she was charged with one count of using a deadly weapon while assaulting a border agent. Let's see. I do not think it was likely Ophelia would be involved in direct violence. She was not aggressive, and I didn't know. See, this is the problem, Joe. Is like when people don't realize these people that they surround themselves with, they don't know what they're really capable of. I know the stereotype is that girls aren't aggressive, and that's mostly true. All they need is the right amount of brain rot or whatever that will send them in that direction.
Yeah, it's yes, I guess that's the right answer to what you're saying. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But boy, I had something that I was going to say, and your question threw me off. I was prepping for it with what you were just talking about. I'll think of it, and I'll come back in a minute.
Let's see. Youngblood's association with other individuals suspected of violent act. Yeah, go ahead.
I figured it out. So they were going to get married. He's a man who wants to be a woman and claims he's trans. And she's a woman who wants to be a man and claims she's trans. But they're going to get married, but in opposite roles. So in other words, they're straight with a lot of extra steps.
Mm-hmm. The irony is that I don't even think she wants to be a man. I think she's like one of these weird people, that like, let's be honest, Joe. If a woman says, "Hey, I want to be a man," that's actually fairly straightforward. Now it's batshit crazy, but it's like at least she knows what she wants. But like these people who have these esoteric kind of like, I want to be whisper gender or something like this, so one of these kind of.
The truth of it is, and you're on the track of it, is that none of them actually believe any of this nonsense. It's just a cool thing, and it's trendy and edgy, so they do it. And when you start digging into all these, you'll always find that a man and a woman, biologically, are in a relationship together. When they say, "Oh, my husband's pregnant," Well, your husband's actually a woman and you're actually a man, and that's the way it's supposed to work. You're not something different. They just want to be edgy and cool, so they pretend to be these things.
Penis Chase Helicopter Tours for $5 says, got my LTC. I don't know what LTC stands
License
for.
to carry.
License to carry in Massachusetts. Yeah, see, there is no such thing as a license to carry in Kentucky, so it's a foreign concept to me.
Well, there is in Montana, but it adds like 2 places to where you can carry anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's like in order to take it into a bar, and a church, you have to have this.
Yeah.
I think
hold on. Hold on a second. Let me finish the super chat here. Got my LTC in Massachusetts the day after Trump got shot, 2 weeks after Massachusetts made 2A impossible to exercise. For new owners, what signs should I look at for in MA as far as crazies arming up?
Simple. I'm going to modify your statement, Pinochet. They made it impossible for right-wing people to exercise. Your sign will be people openly armed in Massachusetts and the police doing nothing about it. That's your sign that leftist people are being armed. Because I guarantee you those laws will not be enforced equally against the left as they are against the right.
When a God-fearing Christian man shows up in public place with open carry, as much as I'm not a fan of open carry, there's literally nothing to worry about. Like, there's more chance of the police shooting him than him shooting anybody else. That said, when a blue-haired land whale with a bunch of facial tattoos and all this kind of stuff starts open carrying, that's when the chances of violence go up significantly. And you won't see the cops bust their chops, I guarantee it. Especially in Massachusetts.
Let me correct you, Broccoli. You can't own anything according to the state without a license to carry. You can own whatever you want. The rights come from God, not the state. They don't get to tell you can't own a gun.
I was just going to say, every state's a constitutional carry state if you're not a little bitch.
Exactly right, Watcher. Exactly right.
Peter Shay's Helicopter Tours for $5 says, for example, all ammo purchases are recorded. People in MA can go to New Hampshire as a saving grace. New Hampshire is predicted to fall to the communists soon, making the Northeast completely subjugated. Here's the thing, right? I think that there is ground to be made in the Northeast, and I think if we can have some good governance from the Trump administration over the next 2 years, we may see some of that ground made up. But it'll only come if normal people like you advocate in a good faith manner to spread the word. And you can't be afraid when, so often like, oh yeah, I don't really like Trump either, but I like a lot of the things that he does. That's such a fucking cop out. If you like Trump, you should tell people you like Trump. Just, kind of stand up for the things that you actually believe in.
I think it's important to continue with the article that we've been going on because we're about to get to a really cool point. But before we do, I just got to say that it's very revealing to me sometimes. I grew up in a lot of Western states, and I largely ignored the gun laws in the states that I passed through when I was in the Marine Corps. And I'm learning now that some of you permit abridgments to your Second Amendment rights that would have... absolutely would not only wouldn't fly, would have people killing people in the streets over them, and apparently have been living under those laws for decades. It's incomprehensible to me how you allow this to continue.
Gentlemen, we've tickled the algorithm today. We are almost at 150 live viewers on YouTube with copyright music being played.
Oh my goodness!
Let me point something else out that goes with what Watcher just said. Is that, and I'm not picking on anyone in the chat who may have made these comments just now. I'm just being honest. The biggest problem on the right is Watcher made his comment about every state's a constitutional carry state if you're not a little bitch, and everyone started, but I don't want to go to jail, I want to go to jail. The problem on the right is this. We scream and screech that the government is trampling our rights, yet we're too afraid to just use our rights anyway because we say, I don't want to go to jail. Okay, then stop whining about them trampling your rights. It's one or the other. It's not both.
No.
You have to make a decision. And I'm not trying to say anyone should go out and do anything stupid, but I'm saying make smart choices and decide whether you live at the government's will or your own. It's very simple. Once you do that, you realize the government really has very little to do with your daily life, and you can do whatever you want. Just don't be stupid.
Yeah. That's that. What Joe just said is kind of interesting. It's kind of the breakthrough moment for a lot of people who call themselves anarchists and are saying, "Oh, I want an anarchistic system because the government's always overbearing and always wrong." And then one day they kind of wake up and realize, "Oh, that's kind of right. Like 99% of my life is anarchy, and it's only like 1% when I ever interact with any government agent ever."
Yeah. Just don't be dumb. Don't be driving around at 100 miles an hour. Don't be out stealing and doing dumb things while you're doing other things that you shouldn't be doing. And nothing will ever happen to you. Just go on about your life.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on with this article because you're right. We are getting to the good spot here because it's this whole Ziz group and what you've got on the screen there is just kind of shocking. So her association with other individuals suspected of violent acts also warrants caution. The prosecutor wrote in a court filing on January 27th. The individual who purchased the firearms the defendant and the Buckle possessed on January 20th is a person of interest in a dual homicide in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Alleged members of the Ziz group are under investigation for a double homicide of an elderly couple in January 22nd. Or January 2022. In Pennsylvania, and the murder of an 82-year-old man in Vallejo, California, the court filing strongly suggests Youngblood and Buchholz were in contact with that group. Both the defendant and the person who purchased the firearms in Vermont that the defendant and her companion possessed on January 20th are acquainted with and have been in frequent contact with an individual who is detained by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania during the homicide investigation. That individual is also a person of interest in a homicide investigation in Vallejo, California. So that's kind of like what you were just, that's those documents that you were showing. Buchholz flew back to the U.S. in the hours before the double homicide in Pennsylvania, the prosecutors say, citing data from the Department of Homeland Security. Snyder, the Seattle man who applied for the marriage license with Youngblood, was arrested on January 24th in Solano County, California, and charged with murder over the killing the Vallejo elderly victim. It's, Joe, I get the feeling that these young psychopaths that are killing these elderly people, it's almost like it's my way of kind of like showing that I'm down for the cause, right? I'll kill somebody who's at the end of their life, so I won't feel bad about it. Or I think killing somebody weaker actually is more heinous. If in all honesty,
I think it's important to note that, and this is a psychological fact. I'm not picking on trans people, but trans people are far more susceptible to suicide than any other demographic in America by a large margin. If you're willing to mutilate your body and cut off parts of your body, and you're willing to kill yourself over these beliefs or because of these beliefs, you don't have any respect for any other human life. It's less than your own. So killing comes easy to these people. And that's why we're seeing so many trans shooters. They believe they're an existential threat because they consume nonstop, ridiculous media. They think they're fighting actual Nazis. And they have no respect for themselves, let alone anyone else. So it's easy for them to make the leap to murder.
Continuing the discussion with Pinochet's helicopter viewer, Taylor Cook for $5 over on YouTube says, the Granite State is predicted to fall to the commies by who? New Hampshire has been Republican held in the state level for a decade or more. Well, I mean, maybe there is some hope there. I don't know. Did New Hampshire go for Trump in the last election? I don't think so. Let's see. Going down. So after the shootout, the bomb squad investigated Buchholz and Youngblood's Prius. The investigators found 2 pistols, magazines, night vision goggles, full face respirators, a ballistic helmet, 48 rounds of hollow point ammunition, shooting range targets, interstate lodging information, 2-way radios, and a dozen electronic devices, some of which were wrapped in foil. That's interesting. Joe, I thought only guys like us had night vision.
Hey, night vision has become amazingly affordable at all levels. The best thing, though, is that the left, they tend to be elitist in their clothes, but go cheap when it comes to tactical gear. So I'm happy with them getting out there buying the Night Force $200 night vision that's not very good versus the AGMs coming in at $2,000 to $3,000. So
Well, the nice thing about the night vision that they tend to buy is it all comes with the turn on like IR, floodlight to illuminate their area, and that basically is a come shoot me sign essentially for anybody.
it's better than a laser dot for aiming, right?
Yeah, absolutely right. So anyway, that's this story. There's a little more I wanted. So there's a Twitter. I want to hit this this X thread watcher. This is the Andy No thread that you've been showing here. So we already did the video.
Oh, boy.
So we've got the Youngblood piece there. All right. So this is this guy right here. Now, this is absolutely fucking nuts. Curtis Lind, 82 years old of Viejo, California, survived an assassination tip on his life in 22, and then when alleged members of the Ziz trans terror group impaled him with a sword and took his eye as revenge for him seeking to evict them. He managed to shoot one of them dead.
How dare he want them to pay their rent?
All right. Well, he shot one of them dead.
Well,
Lynn
hold
was
on.
hospital. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure I add proper context to this. Remember when this was? This was 2022. So this was at
when
the
we
end
told
of that
everyone there was
whole.
going to be violence related to evictions, right?
Yeah, this was at the end of that whole. Oh, we're going to put a moratorium on rent for 2 years. Bullshit.
Right, and so he couldn't evict them until that kind of error kind of came to a close. So, yeah, it's God damn you, Hunch. I'm sure he sent you the same link, Joe. The link that Hunch just sent me.
Oh, I don't know.
So anyhow, he tried to evict him. They impaled him with a sword. He shot and killed one of them, and then 2 years later, he was slated to testify in against the other two that were there that impaled him with a sword and took his eye, and another member of this Ziz group, who we'll get into here in a moment, who is the fiance of the alleged shooter in the Vermont, murdered him so that he couldn't testify.
Yeah.
Hunch, I have both of those. I recommend the Desert DPM one. Anyway, carry on.
All right. So yeah. So we could go on for a long time here. I don't know how deep we want to go into this. Let's see.
Well, at the very least, we should get into a couple of other things, which is like the social media posts when he got assassinated saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him."
Yeah.
Or this, which was the government has a government photo has been released of murder suspect Maximilian Bentley Snyder, who is the one who assassinated Curtis Lind.
Yeah.
On the 17th, in order to stop him from testifying in a murder trial.
Supporters of the trans Ziz terror group celebrated when 82-year-old Curtis Lind was assassinated. He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we got him." Mr. Lind was shortly due to testify, and before he, against members of the group, he killed Amir Emma Borain and wounded another. He narrowly survived the group attack and lost his eye. Trans activists. So, Joe, this is a perfect example, right? Like these people, we tend to think of them as kind of soy boys and snowflakes and all that kind of stuff. But this guy got killed by, he got stabbed in the eye by two and killed by another. Of these so-called soy boy and snowflakes. So these people are dangerous.
Well, I want to hearken everyone back to the heady days of 2020 when Antifa in Portland boxed out a guy and murdered him, right? And then that a guy who did it was a hero for a while until the U.S. Marshals killed him. They're out there and they're dangerous. So,
yeah, 100%. Let's see. Rita and Richard Zolchko were discovered killed in their home in Chester Heights Borough, Delaware County. For over 2 years, the killings have been shrouded in mystery and no one has ever been charged. The wealthy elderly couple had a leftist trans child, a biological man who allegedly had has links to the Ziz trans personality leading the trans terror group. He's not been accused of any wrongdoings. A January 27, 2025 court filings by prosecutors told to hold Teresa Youngblood without bail. The trans suspect accused of killing a border, because we already covered that. It's revealed that the weapons she and the German accomplice used belong to a person of interest in the double homicide. So clearly those two are connected. And this is Trantifa. It just kind of goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And I know this is not like a small little cell. This is, I mean, you saw the people on the winter boots thing. I mean, the trans kind of LGBT aspect of this is deeply ingrained. The mental instability that leads to suicide can also lead to murder. I mean, Joe, what if 40% are likely to kill themselves? Probably an overlapping and different segment of trans people would also be willing to kill people if they're willing to mutilate their own bodies.
Like I said, if you're willing to kill yourself, you're willing to kill everyone else. So it's highly likely. This is a good time to announce that I made a decision last night on what was going to be my topic for the February live stream on Locals, which will be February 7th. I was going to do the 14th, then I realized that Mrs. Tactical Wisdom would probably murder me. So we're going to do February 7th, and it's going to be on a modern Bloody Kansas and what that would look like. And what I mean by that is that Bloody Kansas was a 10-year period leading up to the Civil War. But they didn't have social media and instant access to spreading the word. It took a while to make a plan because you had to send a guy on horseback and he had to ride for a week to get to everyone. With the advent of social media, a Bloody Kansas period could be a span of 4 days, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about the potential for that, look at some of these incidents and talk about them and what sort of indicators you can have of impending activity in your area.
Blinded Journeyman. Reach out to me with more of this. DM me on X.
All right.
There's a good quote by Random PNW in the Rumble chat. A good one there. Where is Professor Braxton from Portland, Oregon, when we need him on the case?
I know, right?
Yeah, it's a fantastic book, man.
All right, let's move on, shall we? We're going to go on to the global Flashpoints segment here. Joe, what do you think about the allegation that? So Tucker Carlson says during an interview that Biden administration tried to kill Putin. Actually, let's listen to the video of Tucker saying it himself. It's only about a minute long. It's on the Clash. You just scroll down a little bit. There it is.
That's one of the reasons that Tony Blinken was pushing so hard for a real war, trying to kill Putin, for example, which the Biden administration did. They tried to kill Putin.
Really?
Yes, they did.
Wow.
Which is insane. If okay, so who takes over Russia?
Right.
And what happens to the nuclear arsenal in a country that's like so complex, outsiders can't even understand? I mean, you live there, that's demented that you would even think of something like that.
Absolutely.
So why were they? Because chaos is a screen that protects them. I mean, I don't know this. That's just like watching what they're doing. I'm like, why would they be doing that? Part of it is because it's like when you're taking off the roof of the embassy in Saigon, you burn all the papers, right?
Absolutely.
But they can't because they're digital. So maybe you need like a war to hide your tracks.
or to keep the public's attention.
That's what I mean.
Elsewhere,
Same
right?
thing,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I had the same fears, and that was part of my thinking when they started, approving the firing of American missiles into Russian territory and British missiles and French missiles. I'm like, why would you do, like, what possible reason would there be to do this? You're not really going to make any military gains by doing this. So you're doing it either to provoke the other side or to create a headline. The headline, I don't think it gets you.
So
who's that guy he's talking to? I'm sorry, I have no idea who that is.
Matt Taibbi.
That's what I thought. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's what one of the questions was in the chat. Is that who that was?
Yeah.
I believe that the plot that killed Dugan's daughter probably originated somewhere close to 1600 Pennsylvania Street.
Yeah. I don't think I see that as much money as we were giving Ukraine, especially after the first 6 months of the war, I don't think anything that happened at that point forward wasn't at least kind of cleared through their CIA contacts. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, we're going to do this. Are you good with this? Yeah, we're good with it, right? I mean, so it probably wasn't us like planning to do that, but it was definitely us signing off on any crap.
It's probably us handing it off to the Brits, who handed it off to the Ukrainians,
right?
Who handed it off to the lowest bidder. So
plenty of cutouts, plenty of cutouts and middlemen to kind of keep Biden's and not even Biden's probably, but the White House and the deep state's fingerprints off of it. Let's see. So this is this is the idea is that somebody had tried to have Putin killed, and so this was a Russian media summary of the Kremlin response to this. Russian President Vladimir Putin is well protected from any potential threats, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Tuesday. He was responding to a claim by an American journalist, Tucker Carlson, that the administration of former U.S. President Joe Biden planned to assassinate the Russian leader. The conservative journalist did not provide any details of the alleged plot. However, he has denounced the purported plan as insane, considering the power vacuum it would create in Russia and the potential for Moscow's vast nuclear arsenal to end up in the wrong hands. Let me finish it first. Asked to comment on Carlson's remarks on Tuesday, Peskov could neither confirm nor deny U.S. attempts to target Putin, nor reveal any knowledge of such plans by officials in Washington in the past. Russian security services continuously take all necessary measures to ensure public safety and the safety of those under state protection. First and foremost, the head of state, he told reporters. So, I mean, clearly, Russia is being a little coy here. We can neither confirm or deny, right? And I don't blame them, right? I mean, coming out and accusing the U.S. of trying to assassinate Putin would put, their relationship with Trump in a difficult position.
What's going to be crazy is they're all going to be denouncing Tucker for this and saying, "Oh, it's beyond the pale. The Americans would never do this." Meanwhile, the American media reports that Putin's trying to kill puppies and kittens everywhere in the world. To think that we wouldn't have considered at some point during the Russo-Ukrainian war killing Vladimir Putin, which was the favorite media topic, right? Let's kill Vladimir Putin. Yeah. To think that we didn't actually consider it or attempt to follow through on it is silly. Obviously, we did. It's not a big stretch or a reveal of some big secret. We're fighting on one side, or we're supplying one side of this war, and he's the leader of the other side. It's pretty obvious that to anyone that we would have tried it at some point.
Yeah, 100%. Let me just kind of. So Carlson seemed to be saying something more significant was afoot, that Washington is willing to risk a decapitation strike or operation, perhaps especially if something like a Russian nuclear launch was imminent or likely. But if such a plan was an option, it would be highly classified, and Biden administration wouldn't want it to get out. If there had been such a secretive plot, it's possible that President Trump could confirm or reveal it at a future date. So, the only people who have more to lose by admitting to this would be the Trump administration. This is one of those secrets that you would probably keep secret if that were true, because it would definitely make put Donald Trump on the back foot in any negotiations if he knew that the Biden administration tried to do something like that. That would be very inflammatory, much less if he admitted it publicly. Anyway, I thought that was notable. It's not every day you see an allegation at that high a level, but that the U.S. was trying to plan to target the leader of Russia. From elegant political assassinations to just the dirty Bush wars of the 21st century. We already talked a little bit about this. Congo tries to slow the assault of Rwanda-backed rebels amidst report of dead bodies in the streets. So Goma is one of the largest cities in Congo, and it's the kind of the large eastern city in the region. It has fallen to the M23 rebels that are backed by Rwanda. There are, and you had mentioned that there are some South African, Defense Force guys who surrendered because they basically ran out of ammo. I mean, let's be honest, most of these UN peacekeepers don't show up with a full combat load. They're not. That's not the mission that they're there for. And they're given instructions that if faced with violence, to back down and potentially surrender your arms. That's actually one of the things that they give in the kind of I've never been in that position. I've read some of these briefings that they're given. Joe, I mean, what would you do if somebody tried to tell you that, you're a soldier, but you're not here for a combat mission. You're here to basically.
Yeah, you're essentially there to be a buffer in between. You're there, as I always call UN peacekeepers, a speed bump. You're there to try and slow either side down. The same thing happened during the Russo-Ukrainian war with the OSCE troops that were in between, right? Get out of the way as quick as you can. But this was a poorly thought out thing. Their job was to try and keep the rebels on the Rwandan side of the border, and they failed miserably at it. But I think that this situation has developed slowly enough that they could have gotten some resupply in. But as odd as it may sound, there might be some structural integrity problems in South Africa that prevented that from happening. So.
Yeah, it's yeah. Let me just kind of give a little more. I mean, we talked about this last week.
I want to point out that Ron has appeared in the chat. So
I saw that. Yeah. He says, point of order. This could not be considered a council since it does not have a quorum. Substitute teaching parliamentary procedure today. Well, Ron, if you would just show up from time to time, it might be easier. It might be easier to get a quorum. But the problem with being friends with lots of successful people who have shit to do in the real world is that they don't often have time. It's ironic, Joe, that the council members had time during the Biden administration, but now that business is occurring out in the world, it's thin on the ground. So I'm generally happy for all the council members who can't be here because they do have legitimately great things going on. So it's hard for me to be sore about that. All right.
So on that note, by the way, Ron, if you're paying attention, just let me know when you can about the thing. On the day, the thing. Just let me know.
That guy? That guy? No, the other guy. All right. So let's just give an update to the chat on what's going on in the Congo. Congolese security forces on Tuesday tried to slow the advance of Rwandan-backed M23 rebels who said that they had captured Goma after entering the eastern Congo's largest city, as UN officials reported violence, looting, and bodies in the streets. The officials said that hospitals were overwhelmed in Goma, a regional trade and humanitarian hub that is now a refuge for hundreds of thousands fleeing gunfire and shelling. In the major escalation of one of Africa's longest conflicts, the violence echoed far from Goma as protesters in the country's capital attacked at least 10 embassies, including those of France and the U.S., which urged citizens to leave the city. Congo's foreign minister told an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council that protesters' damage to embassies were sincere, regrettable incidents. She said that Congo respects the principles governing diplomatic and has taken all necessary measures to ensure the protection of accredited diplomatic missions. The M23 rebels are one of about 100 armed groups vying for a foothold in the conflict-battered northern Kivu province, which includes Goma, rich in minerals. Shocking, Joe. Shocking, I say. And the critical to much of the world's technology. There were reports of gender-based violence and rape. Why don't we just say it's rape committed by fighters?
We have to say gender-based because Donald Trump is president.
That's right.
If you think I'm exaggerating, that's 100%. We have to make it sound like DEI is required.
I think there's that, but I also think that there's just a lot of people with a lot of very useless degrees that have to justify that.
Well, you know, when these gender studies majors pick up their winter boots, feel free to take those winter boots to the Congo and see how long
go to the
you
Congo.
fare.
There's even a poem about it. Boots, 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 marching up and down again.
All right, the
Marching
humanitarian
over
situation.
Africa.
The humanitarian situation in and around Goma remains extremely worrying. Not to me. There were heavy small arms fire and mortar fire across the city in the presence of many dead bodies in the streets. Let's see. Many continued to flee across the border into Rwanda, braving gunfire, heavy rains, caught in between shootouts on both sides from the Congolese soldiers and rebels. What we want is this war to come to an end. You can see the level of frustration. The Congolese people are victims. They will find themselves seeking refuge from the aggressor. Let's see. It's unclear how much of Goma is controlled by the M23 rebels, though analysts say they're more emboldened than in 2012 when they temporarily took over the city before being forced to pull out under international pressure. They resurfaced in late 2021 with increasing support from Rwanda, according to Congo's government and UN experts. Rwanda has denied such support, although UN experts estimate there are up to 4,000 Rwandan forces in Congo. Since the morning, we've heard bombs, explosion, crackling bullets. 17 peacekeepers and foreign soldiers have been killed in the fighting, according to the UN.
Can't actually hear bombs. You can hear explosions, but you can't hear bombs.
Yeah, you know, Watcher. Let's go to the next link underneath here, which is the Vicegrad 24 link. That's got the video of the South Africans before they ran out of ammo. Of note. Yeah, and then they surrendered.
Oh yeah, this is a South. First of all, I want to know where I can get this new South African pattern.
Yeah, this pattern's all right. Let's see. M23 forced the SANDF soldiers to retreat.
It looks like M23 starts using his white flag as a range marker because you see him start ducking for the rounds.
Yeah, you can hear those, you know. Let's see. The South African government has no more troop-carrying planes. A private Russian company has contracted to evacuate the troops, but did not leave the DRC because they have not been paid yet. The UN peacekeeping mission has collapsed with reports of peacekeepers surrendering weapons as rebels take hostages. South African troops lack air support, drones, essential equipment to counter M23's advanced military capabilities. The situation. So that's ironic. I'm curious. We talked last week about potential Chinese support for M23 rebels. Um, you know, I would be interesting to hear what the drone part of this war. Drones are the new hotness, of course, in global conflict. So it would be interesting to see how that's being used. And let's be honest, Joe, most forces in the world, I mean, Americans included, I think, are not ready for your level of drones that what we've seen in some locations.
Yeah, so that's the thing about fighting in Central Africa. It's low tech all the way, right? And that's crazy. Can you put Be Prepared's comment just above mine in the Rumble chat on there, Watcher? About the Tactical Wisdom Museum. Yeah, put that up there. So let's not get Mrs. Tactical Wisdom started because she believes this is already a thing. She believes I already own every camo pattern in existence. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Shine Bomb is playing chicken with Trump. Should work out great for her. Final story of the day, gents. The Houthis are back on the terror list, if you believe it or not. Trump signed an executive order declaring the irony is when I heard the title of the executive order, I didn't put two and two together because we don't ever hear the Houthis like proper name that used that much. So what was it called?
How the Houthis got their groove back?
What's that?
Nothing.
Oh, you got jokes. See, I'm trying to give authoritative information to our audience, and you're just making jokes. No, I can't. Houthis on the terror list. What does that mean for Yemen? Iran back Houthis who control much of Yemen have fired on Israel and Red Sea shipping, prompting reprisals. Already the Arabian Peninsula's poorest country, Yemen is now suffering one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with 2/3 of its people in need of aid. Former U.S. President Joe Biden removed the Houthis from the foreign terror list after humanitarian groups protested that they could not get aid to Yemen. So the irony is the Houthis basically kick our ass in the Red Sea, and to reward them for that, Biden lists the terror restrictions, and we basically stop bombing them. So that, whatever. That makes total sense. Trump intends to return the Houthis to the list of foreign terrorists where he placed them during his first term. A year ago under Biden, they were placed in a less severe list of specially designated global terrorist groups, which had the effect of freezing their assets and cutting off sources of finances. The redesignation could take several weeks, presuming that it's successful. Anyone who engages or works with the Houthis whose territory is home to most of Yemen's population will risk being prosecuted in the United States. Unlike the SDGT, the FTO restrictions encompass even more indirect forms of contact. This expanded and more punitive framework not only cuts off financial lifelines, but they significantly undermines the group's operational capabilities, international mobility, and legitimacy. So, I hate to say it, but this is like, shouldn't this have been like obvious? Like this is one of those kind of things that Trump is undoing something that he never should have been undone or done in the first place. You know what I mean? This just goes to show you the state of our foreign policy.
Yeah, absolutely. We've messed up so much and lost so much ground that we have massive areas to come back on. Just to get back to the status quo. remember, he left them with the Middle East in relative peace with the Abraham Accords, right, which have now been smashed against the rocks of history. So,
yeah.
But on a side note, we've been having a conversation in the chat about Houthi and the blowfish. It should actually be Houthi and the kingfish, the AS-6 Soviet anti-ship missile they used to have, the kingfish. So,
well done, Joe.
come on, that's funny. Houthi,
I
like
see what
Houthi
you
and the
did. No,
blowfish.
I see what you did there. I recognize your wit. All right. On that note, anything else we want to talk about? I just wanted to bring up the Houthis are back on the menu.
Well, what's funny is I think the Houthis are surprised that they're back on the terror list, right? And they never should have been off of it ever. So it's funny how we talk about elected governments and the power of democracy. Who elected the Houthis? No one. They overthrew the existing government. So in 3/4 of the country. Sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of, this is just kind of a quick aside as we get ready to exit here. Speaking of global hotspots, according to Drug Administration officials, I was like, Fed sweep NYC for violent illegal migrants. DEA thanks Trump. So according to the DEA, these criminals were on the radar for years, left untouched by Biden's policy. This is a DEA special agent says these are targets that we have known or have targeted in previous enforcement efforts, but have not had the opportunity and backing to go out and hold them accountable. With Trump back in office, the federal agents finally had the green light to arresting suspected wanted for burglary, kidnapping, extortion. Now, Joe, I wonder if we're going to see some of these the organized retail theft rings kind of start going down, because those were mainly staffed by criminal migrants. So it'll be interesting to see if that's one of the things.
That's been a problem since the late 90s. I don't think it's going to get solved in 3.5 months. So, but it will probably put a dent in it, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah, the thing that I've been really surprised by and very happy by is this daily. I don't know if you started following the ICE X account, but they're basically posting a graphic every day. Here, actually, let me find it and I'll share it.
Of a number of arrests made. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, let's see. It's of note, I think. So this was yesterday's. Here we go. So basically every day they're just providing a number of arrests and detainers lodged. Now, detainers, that's where they pick up somebody in that's already arrested, right?
Yeah, a detainer is a hold on someone that was arrested for something else. Yeah.
So those are actually better than arrests because they're safer. They're much less,
And there's no legal requirement. What's funny is everyone goes, "Oh, they need a warrant." Well, detainers are a warrant. They're just for non-U.S. citizens. You only need warrants for U.S. citizens. A detainer is like the very fact that you're breathing the same air as me is illegal. So we're going to hold you and get you back home where you belong. So.
Anyway, so I think this is I'm going to continue to applaud these efforts. On Friday, we'll be doing a show focused mostly on domestic stuff, so we'll probably get into this again. One of the headlines that I originally picked for today's show, but then I tossed because it just didn't match the themes, was basically a headline that said we've never seen this before on the border. And they're literally down in the low triple digits, high double digits numbers of encounters. Whereas with the 4 years of the Biden administration, they would go as high as 10,000 sometimes as far as encounters. So that's really encouraging that essentially becoming president has stopped the flow, and shocking, Joe, when you exist the laws and things that we already have in place, then you're able to stop most of the people. So
yeah,
shocking. All right, Joe, that's all I got. What you thoughts about what we're going to see here over the next 3 to 5 days?
Let's see what happens today. I know Watcher shared something about someone being arrested with Molotov cocktails already today. Pay attention, see what happens, see if anything materializes out of the cute winter boots thing. I would watch for more and more leftist activities at ICE stations throughout the week. But I wanted to point out a side point. Somebody said that Biden was funding the Houthis. Who's actually funding the Houthis are the maritime insurance companies who are paying them to not sink ships. That's what's funding the Houthis. And it's an unfortunate circumstance. If we actually made Prosperity Guardian a real thing, Lloyd's of London and the other insurance companies wouldn't have to be paying the Houthis directly, and they wouldn't be paying billions of dollars to Embry Maritime to protect these ships.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, Watcher.
Yeah, heads on a swivel. Over the if you look into that story we shared earlier about the Antifa circles and the winter boots thing, all this is about anti-ICE action. So if I were an ICE officer strapping on my getting my coffee and strapping on my gear for the day, I'd make sure I had all my plates on tight and in the correct places, and just keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah, the sad thing is that the people who are willing to act domestically, who are actually willing to act, they've been talking about domestic violent extremists for years, like all during the Biden administration. Well, you're starting to see exactly who the domestic violent extremists are. The problem is they are now way more activated than they were. For instance, the people we talked about today, they killed people that they had contact with. Like this one guy evicted them from some land or something. And so they got revenge against him. And, the other couple, we're not sure what the connection was. So they had killed before, but it was fairly targeted. Now, if all it takes is for them and their winter boots to show up, and there could be a lot of collateral damage, and collateral damage are random people who just happen to be walking down the street minding their own business. So when Watcher and Joe say keep your head on a swivel, that's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about. Be prepared. If you have the ability to be armed, I recommend it. It's a little bit of preparation, a little bit of training, but the reward, if needed, is very high. So consider that.
Ante omne armari. Before all else, be armed.
Lance Corporal Veteran for $5 says border solutions make letters of marque and reprisals greater. Right. Yeah. So that's one thing that I kind of forgot about. That was a big tweet yesterday by Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee. He talked about bringing back letters of marque and reprisal as a solution against the drug cartels. I'm not quite sure how that would work on land. It makes sense on how it would work on the sea, but
it's worked on land before. Privateers have launched operations against pirate bases before.
But the way you make that work is that it's like basically a unenforced area, right? Now what happens when the letters of marque guys run into a Mexican army or Mexican police?
So that's the problem, right? Letters of marque generally applied to, at the time, areas that had no actual law enforcement, right?
Right.
Islands in the Caribbean and the open sea. And that's also how Embry operates now. There's no law on the open sea. You do what you want. The problem is entering a third-party nation with a letter of marque that doesn't protect you from the third-party nation.
Right. That's exactly right. So while I am all for this. It is one of those kind of things where it would be a sticky wicket on how you would actually. Maybe the answer is working with local law enforcement. To kind of get that local cover. The way some bounty hunters and things like that do. So. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, we'll probably be talking about that on Friday. That has continued to develop. I hope maybe we'll get somebody who has some strong feelings about that to come on the show on Friday. All right, guys, that's all I've got. Appreciate everybody here. 2 hours and 1 minute. Look at that, right on the button. If you haven't done it already, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and let folks out there know that you're getting some good info from the Council on Future Conflicts. Spread the word if you would. And if you're not following us over on X or Rumble, please do. Account names are down in the description. Thank you for everybody who supported us today with your super chats. It makes a difference. Appreciate it very much. We will be back on Friday at the same time. So, as always, stay safe.